It is the Anfield Wrap. It's Neil Atkinson back. I've been away for a week. You probably couldn't tell where the join was with at least some of the work through whilst away, because we got a lot recorded the week before. But I am back and was not at Anfield yesterday, which doesn't happen very often, and I'm going to be asking questions of John Gibbons, Rob Gutmann and Josh Williams about that. But before we get into all of that, Liverpool being top of the league as well, and a 2-1 victory against a good Chelsea side, we need to introduce the new partner for the Anfield Wrap on a Monday. It is Peloton. They are the official digital partner, fitness partner of LFC, and we're teaming up to show fans this year how we score together through thousands of workouts, 14 disciplines and 50 incredible instructors. You're excited, I'm excited. Me and you are going to be getting fit, is the plan.
The bike has arrived. They've sent it a Liverpool branded Peloton. Me and Craig went to see them and they were like, oh, we got these Liverpool bikes, and Craig was like, we'll have one of them. And then he found out there was only 20 made and he felt really guilty. But they've sent one. It is next door in the video studio, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in. I didn't realise there's a lot more to it. Obviously it's a bike. Yeah. They're famous for the biking. But you can do all sorts. You can do like running and yoga, and you spin the thing round. I'll have to give you a demonstration. You're literally just back in the country here. Yeah. The guy taught me through it. A guy delivered it in a Man United shirt, which really amused me.
I'm pleased about that. So my first question is, have I got a login set up?
No.
Okay.
I need to do that.
Okay.
So I need to get you set up, and then you've got your own shoes.
Yep.
And yeah, then I'll show you.
I've got my own shoes, Rob.
Shoes.
Yeah.
How can you do yoga with it? That's fascinating.
So you basically the screen, you can spin it round, and then so like it opens up the whole room, and we've obviously got a big room there, and then there's different instructors.
Get
for
a
mat.
Things.
Right, me and Andy are going to do yoga. Yeah. Andy's nodding yes. For those who are new.
Yeah.
No, it is very, very exciting.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in.
So you can download the Peloton app, and you can get the 6 LFC themed classes, including one with Trent Alexander-Arnold. You can also connect with me and John when we're on there, and other Liverpool fans by joining with the Liverpool FC tag on Peloton. It says here, from the bit I'm reading out, you are also welcome to make a tour tag if you like to in the future for listeners to follow. Could be something that we do at some point. I'm all in.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I want to sort of
all in.
Yeah, once we're up and running a bit and we know what we're doing a bit more, like there's loads that we can do. Like I like the idea of a little Anfield Wrap community sort of within the Peloton one. I know a few people have got them and stuff like that. So yeah, we've got months ahead of us.
We've got months. Also, when I'm more competent as well.
Well, you don't want to be the worst one.
No.
I was thinking about that when Trent's one of the instructors, and they were like, "Oh, Trent's got one," and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to let Trent down." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, be a nightmare.
Yeah,
you can do montages like with Rocky tunes.
That's almost certainly the plan, Rob.
I think that is. Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
So I'm going to build up to a class with Trent.
Well, a class with Trent, that's in the future, but with the people as well. Let's give it a month. Me and you get into unbelievable shape before then.
Imagine that for the people who are watching on YouTube in 4 weeks' time. They're like, look at them. Akko's doing the show topless. Looks unreal. He's glistening from a fresh workout
on the Peloton. No, I'm really excited about it. Honestly, I've got
the sound as well. You know, I know you've not spoke to them too much. They're good people, and they're really excited too. So I think it's going to be really good.
Well, there's everything in there. There's game-inspired stuff as well, which I'm banging to, and you can stream films and TV shows whilst you're doing this too. All of that all seems really, really good. Might get some really hard-hitting documentaries on to get me through it.
Nothing like that. Just work a sweat up, is there?
Oliver Stone's JFK.
What are we going to do about this?
If you do it well, do either you or any of us get promoted to being the inspirational people on the videos? Going, I want to hear you going. You got this.
I think I would. To be honest with you, Rob. Other than doing a panto, I think that's now my number one ambition with this job. It's either being asked to do a panto or being asked to be that guy on Peloton.
I want to see Ben Johnson on a bike with your face on the screen.
One, you know.
Ben's got
I know
one.
he has. I know he's a Peloton early adopter.
He is.
But I want to see a screen with your face going, come on, Ben, you got this. Right? I think that would really work.
I mean, imagine his response.
Yes, I know. I think he'd cycle very hard and aggressively.
Well, you say that. So anyway, we're with Peloton for the next, for a few months, and we will be bringing you all along with us on the journey. Honestly, really pleased that Peloton have come on board, but also thank you very much as well for listening, and hopefully if you've got one, great. If you're thinking about getting one, well, we've got one, if that sways you in any way, shape or form, but we very much want to make a community thing out of it, and that's the way in which we've spoken about it all the way through. You know that John's here, you know that Rob's here, we've got Josh Williams as well. It was Liverpool 2, it was Chelsea 1, it was a massive game, it was a massive win. Josh, everyone was saying it's going to be a tough run, and that's not. That tough run, I think, runs arguably all the way up until Christmas. The key part of that, though, is that you had to get off on the right foot in the first place. And whilst it was not some sort of magical free-flowing performance from Liverpool, they very much got off on the right foot, and they looked like a very, very, very serious football team.
Yeah, well, the main thing on the back of it was picking up a win. Obviously, international break, it can disrupt you a little bit, and as you say, first major test of this tricky run now. So to get out of there with 3 points is nice. I must admit, though, I thought it was a very weird game. It was something about watching the game was very strange. It
reminded me of the Brighton 2, Liverpool 2 from October last season. You know, when there's long periods where everyone's just trying to beta press.
Yeah.
And it made the game feel like a psychological... I wasn't at Anfield, and maybe it was in part because I was watching it on telly. It made the game feel like a psychological thriller. Like the game trying to get in your head and all this sort of stuff.
I felt a lot of the time the press baiting didn't overly work.
Like no. Everyone just went, oh, you're all right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. There was a time when Van Dijk stands on the ball and Palmer's like 5 yards away from him, and Palmer's like frozen in time, mate, just looking at him like that. It was really weird.
There was times where you were like, is it a free kick? Is the game stopped?
Yeah.
Like you were trying to figure out if, no, is it like...
It was proper weird, like, but I'm still looking back at the game thinking, did Liverpool play well? I'm not even sure. I don't think we did, but we also never really looked in too much trouble, and the moment the game state got out of our hands where they got level again, we went and scored
immediately
about 30 seconds later. So yeah, just a really weird game to assess, to be honest.
It sets the season in train if there have been any lingering doubts. Had there been any lingering doubts? Did anyone genuinely have any lingering doubts beforehand about whether or not this was a Liverpool side that is in genuine contention at the top of the table? I think you're all pretty upbeat that we looked in good nick.
Doubts is the wrong word. Just unsure what the future holds. I felt like I was cast back in. I have felt this for the last few weeks. Cast back in time to almost the precise stage last season, where the team is still... I mean, we just rebuilt the midfield at that point last season. We'd come off the back of a difficult season, and we weren't sure, not even the manager, and that was Jurgen Klopp at that time, was sure quite where this journey would end. And because we've now put Slot into the mix, and he's a brand new Liverpool manager with no heritage behind him, and his legacy in Holland is a relatively modest and modern one. It's hard to know, and it remains hard to know how this story ends. You sort of think last season should be more instructive and tell us that this is a good Liverpool team that can go on, and that these wins aren't flashes in pans. But every step against a bigger side like yesterday is a big step forward, I think, for those like me. I'm not sceptic, but I'm just keeping my own counsel up to a point on this. So I'm not sure.
I think that's fair, and I think that sort of sums up where I am as well. With doubts not necessarily being the wrong word, just more open-mindedness to what is possible, and I think more seems possible this season than maybe I thought in the summer, which is really exciting. But at the same time, I am aware. I'm ongoingly aware and was thinking before the Chelsea game, well, let's just sort of see a little bit, and that's on the bigger challenges. But I think it was a weekend that answered a lot of questions, and not just from a Liverpool point of view either, in terms of our rivals. You're seeing Arsenal getting beat by Bournemouth, you're seeing City go to Wolves and really struggling for periods of that, and needing obviously a late one at the end, which can happen, and we've had plenty of those. But I think the weekend's results sort of put our other results into a bit of perspective as well. This idea of Liverpool haven't played anyone and sort of stuff like that. Well, anyone can give anyone a go if you're not on it. And we talked about this in the post-match audio show, and I'm reflected on it sort of even more. I haven't got home last night to watch sort of matches a day. Is that see Liverpool haven't played any good teams. Well, in a way, they're all good teams.
Couldn't agree more. And away games are hard.
Yeah,
as
exactly. And we just sort of keep winning them, really. But Chelsea was the biggest test, and I think the midfield, they've been so good on the ball, but there was always maybe a feeling of will better teams be able to find holes? And I thought Chelsea could. They were sort of able to, but then we still held really firm, defensively. There's obviously the goal the other side of the second half, but generally speaking, you're looking at another game where we hardly conceded any chances, where the keeper's not really sort of being tested, and although at times it feels a little bit hairy, because I felt they found it quite easy to get from back to front at times. When they got around the box, we were resolute and we were strong, and so I think it was a weekend where we passed the test, and also I think where others, Arsenal obviously, really faltered, and puts the other results in perspective too.
Just as part of the way the game went then, and John, along that sort of lines, you said before about, is this a restart? Precisely what's going on. I think it tells us a little bit about how these games that we've now got coming on that are significantly, could well be tough games. Part of how we're going to approach it looks to me like, is just with an attempt to have a ton of maturity, a desire to have a lot of calm, a desire to feel like we're in control, if not of the scoreboard, but of proceedings, and maybe even if not of the ball, but of proceedings. And I think in the second half especially, Liverpool did a really good job of taking 20 minutes out of the game.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the team selection, and you talked there about how we're going to approach these games moving forward, and I wonder whether, if we'd have had a clear week between the games or a League Cup game on Wednesday, whether he would have picked that team. Was that a team that, because it looks a bit, the South American lads have travelled to me, so he doesn't pick Núñez, doesn't pick McAllister, doesn't pick Diaz. Now, we probably wouldn't pick Núñez anyway, but the other two, have been very firm starters for him, McAllister in particular. So, especially Diaz for Gapco, I think really informs sort of how you play, and it really sort of informs your intensity levels and stuff like that. He's just busier, Diaz, generally, and his style and sort of how he is. And there was a bit where I'm thinking, the first 30 minutes when you're sort of waiting for the game to ignite, and you're thinking, if Diaz was here, he'd have done something that had got everyone up or whatever, or there might have been the case if we want to sit back, but Núñez comes on, he just can't help himself, can he? Do you know what I mean? He's like, well, I'm fucking pressing, and it was great because he was. I think he was that.
I thought it was brilliant, by the way.
That first half performance.
Yeah. So that's possibly without scoring. That's possibly his best 20 minutes in a Liverpool shirt, wasn't it?
But it was sort of what we needed, I think, a little bit as well. And it might not have been what the manager wanted, but I think for the crowd, it was sort of it was. I think it was a bit necessary.
But the first half, I think you can break it into three phases. Josh, the 0 to the Jota foul when he's fouled and injured. Then there's the Jota foul till we go 1-0 up, which is also when Núñez comes on as well, pretty much in the same action. Yeah. And then there's 1-0 to half time with Núñez on. I think the Jota foul to 1-0 is the most hurt we've been in a match, with the possible exception of the first 5 minutes against AC Milan, where we were very much second best there for an extended period against that Chelsea side. Since Schlott's arrived, I think that's the case. But I think we weren't that far away from playing with 10, is the one thing I would say, because Jota clearly has got some sort of rib-based injury, was not comfortable for that period of time, and I thought our shape went to bits. And if you sort of imagine, we've got the fella who's leading the line here is injured, which is what I think was the case, it makes a bit more sense. But there were those three quite clear phases, I thought.
Yeah, the thing with the shape thing, I thought the shape was a little bit off it for most of the game. I thought they exploited it with Gusto tucking inside, high up a little bit ahead of Canate and behind Szoboszlai. And I think our midfield too basically had to manage Palmer, Gusto, Caicedo and Lavia. So they certainly had a job on their hands there, and I think we adjusted it. I think after our second goal, I think we went to a bit more of a Núñez on his own, and then 3 players behind him to manage that overload in the middle. But throughout the game, I felt Chelsea if you look at the game as a chessboard type thing, I felt Chelsea at the edge. But despite having the edge, Liverpool had the more clear-cut moments where they're running in on goal and there's like lots of space to exploit. Whereas I felt like every time Chelsea got to the final third, we had lots of bodies between the ball, whoever's in possession for Chelsea, and our actual goal. I think Kelleher is only really called upon once, and that's the goal. Other than that, Kelleher doesn't really make a save, doesn't really have to do too much off the top of my head. So, but I'd be interested to know from like Schlott's perspective. Nobody asked him after the game anything tactical and like that. I'd be interested to know if he wanted that kind of dynamic, where you kind of relinquish the ball a little bit and you give it to them almost, and you think, right, we'll do it in transition. And like, was that the plan or not? Because if it wasn't, it's a little bit of a worry. But if it was, largely win according
well, I
to
think
plan.
first 15, Rob, I actually think you see a couple of times they win it really high. So I wonder if that was a little bit the plan. First 15, there's a couple of times they should get in. There's a couple of times where people should do a little bit better. To be honest, they've won it high, and they've got Chelsea, with a bit of doubt. A couple of times Lavia then turns away. A good player carries it 40 yards through the middle of the pitch then because we've committed a certain way and we're then falling back. But there's other times where we go and win it. And I think that there is that just sort of funny period in that first half where from the Jota foul until we go 1-0 and then Nunez comes on, where I just think that we're just not quite able to press properly because we're carrying someone a little bit in there. But I think I think you can see they were trying to win it high.
Yeah, I think if you've done your research on Chelsea, even the most cursory research on Chelsea and scouting of Chelsea will show you that all their gifts are in attack. I mean, they've got good players all the way through the side, but they're hugely potent in their front 3-4 positions, and they've got options off the bench, and they're not going to be able to help themselves but come at you. I think the worst case scenario is if Maresca bought this Chelsea team there and decided to sit in and said, "Come on, Liverpool, what have you got? Because we've got gifts on the counter attack." And I think Slot was prepared to have all. I think he's prepared for either scenario. I think he's prepared to either have all the ball and try and control the game in front of them, or to use what we have, which is incredible amount of gifts on the counter. So I think he did sort of take it. And I think the tell, which Josh has just referred to, is how little Keller had to do. I came out of the game. You and I had bickered mildly on a group chat about how good or not Chelsea would be and people's perceptions of Chelsea. And my perceptions were that people were sleeping on Chelsea just a bit. They're a basket case club and all this. So a lot of people came out of the game yesterday. I think Chelsea were good. Chelsea had a good game. Maybe they could have got a draw. I was a bit disappointed by them because they didn't lay a glove on us. Really, apart from the beautifully constructed goal, I thought everything was happening in front of us. There's the midway kick gets in behind Robertson in the first half, and you don't like to see Liverpool not have the ball. And we're not saying that was the game plan to not have the ball and hit them on the counter, but I thought we were okay with it. And I thought by the time we scored, there was a phase where I thought we were going to take the game away from them, and we have the Gakpo goal disallowed, we have the second penalty thing. Even at 2-1, I thought, we've got to take the game away from these. I think I've come away from it not entirely changed. I think they're a really, really strong side, and you can't be anything but be impressed by the players that they can bring on and the quality in that squad. But I think, given it was a game after an international break, we had even the lads who were rested, the lads who had to play it, most of them had played 2 games, the Gakpos, the Soboslais, the Trents, etc., etc. You were always going to get a reduced Liverpool performance, maybe a reduced Chelsea performance, but I certainly knew enough about our lads to know that was like being away in Europe midweek. You're not going to get a peak performance. I thought we played within ourselves. I thought we waited for them. We were ready. I don't think we controlled the narrative from start to finish, but I thought we were good, and I was happy with it.
Yeah, you can see. I was interested to watch Chelsea, in the flesh, and I think you can see why they'll do all right, and then you can see why they sort of won't quite get there. I think obviously defensively, we're the best team in the league. That's what the stats tell you in terms of goals conceded and chances. So I wouldn't write them off too quickly in terms of the fact that they didn't lay that much of a glove on us, because I think everyone's sort of struggling to at the moment. But I thought in the middle third in particular, I thought they were really strong, and that's not just to say I think the midfielders. I think because the forwards were dropping into them areas, the defenders were getting into them areas too, and so I think people are saying, Chelsea had a lot of ball as a thing. I think they just will against teams because I think they've got a lot of good technical players, they've got a lot of physical players, and I think they'll get on top for periods against pretty much anyone. I think it's what they're then able to do with it, which will be interesting, and I think that's where they'll fit. And I think as well, you can't create chances against them, and again, you're judging them on Sunday against the team who I think are the best in the country at the moment. That's us, but I think but we were just the way we just turned it 1-1 or to 2-1, Sam, we'll just do this now. Was with a lovely amount of ease. I thought was just great, and I think that's credit to Liverpool, obviously, but I think that says a little bit about Chelsea as well, that they weren't able to capitalise on sort of getting back into the game as they did. I think it's a lovely goal, the second one, and it's the kind we've scored 3 or 4 quite similar to it. I think it's similar-ish to the one McAllister gets at the other end of the pitch. It's a midfielder sort of running through. They're clearly working on it. It was Jones who sort of gets there this time, but I think like I say, I agree with Josh. It's sort of a tough game to analyse, but when you really get into the moments and really get into, how we approached, we went about our business, and I think you are more positive about it, and I think we're just going to be that sort of team. I think, you talked about games it reminds you of. It reminds me a little bit of, we went to Arsenal a few years ago when we were really riding high, and they were great for half an hour, and then we just won 2-0 because we were a serious football team and they weren't. And I feel like I'm watching a serious football team, and that's really nice.
Yeah, I think Chelsea, I was impressed with them, to be fair. I thought they were really good. But I think Rob's point that they didn't lay a glove on us is an interesting one, because I think for me they kind of did but didn't, almost in a weird sort of way. I think the build-up caused us major issues, as I said, with the structural thing. And some of the numbers in the game are mad as well. Like, we only posted 8 shots. That's the fewest at Anfield for us in the Premier League since 2021, I think. And I think they posted more touches in the penalty box than like any team in a couple of years or something like that at Anfield as well. Their pass completion was like 88%. That's the most ever at Anfield in the Premier League by an opposing team. So I think those numbers suggest that there was something there in the Chelsea performance. But then at the same time, as I said, Kelleher's not facing a great deal.
There's a couple of good blocks.
Yeah, there's a couple of good blocks, but I think that's what I'm getting at, really. I think it feels like this season, one thing I'm really enjoying is no opposing player is getting a unpressured, clear-cut shot. Every shot's like, you've got Van Dijk standing on your toes, you've got Kanate right there. It's confined spaces, and we're never really too exposed.
Midfielders throwing themselves on grenades, which we weren't used to seeing, really.
There's just always a degree of compactness there with Liverpool, and even watching us get sliced open a little bit with the build-up, it still doesn't really seem to result in us facing much at all. Like, it was another game where Liverpool faced shots worth less than a total of 1 expected goal. Like, we gave away less than 1 XG again. And last season that wasn't the case, and usually if you're a title winning side, that's what you do consistently. You give away virtually nothing, and it feels like even when Liverpool don't play particularly well, they give away nothing again, and they're in control of the game state all the time. So it's as I said, really weird games to assess.
A couple of other things, John. A combination of the referee, the manager getting booked by the referee, Nunez coming on around the time of the first goal, Nunez charging around a little bit, really got the crowd in a really big way, I thought. In a way that I think, if I quite like it when opposing managers come out afterwards and say, well, that one was Anfield's and all of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case here. I actually think we have hard lines with the second pen. I don't think we fancy their keeper, which I always quite like to see in a Liverpool team as well. But it felt like everyone was very, very pumped up the way things had gone.
Yeah, the crowd were desperate to get into it, and they were just sort of waiting for a moment, really, and that comes with the Jota foul, I think, and I think that's, because it felt like a nasty one. There was a bit of a, is he last man, isn't he? Obviously, there was all the stuff around, the Arsenal incident the day before, so plenty sort of talking about that, but it was just like, I don't like them when they fall on them. It all feels a bit like Salah in Kiev, doesn't it? When something like that happens, and you worry about it, and rightly so. It turned out because he went off, but that sort of lit something. And I think the crowd were desperate. And people might be listening to this and thinking, well, why not just do it anyway? But it just sort of doesn't really work like that, really. It bubbles, and then it needs that spark. And then if the atmosphere is right and people's intentions are right, then it's like just throwing a load of petrol on it, and then
you're not looking back then.
Yeah, exactly, and we didn't look back, and I think we did win that first pen. I think the crowd won it. I think looking back, it is a pen, but I've certainly seen them not given. Do you know what I mean? I think those, when it's a bit sort of innocuous and a bit of an accident, I think refs can sort of turn a blind eye, really.
Well, he should have the one before with Salah, and that's when he's had to go and book the manager. Well, the crowd's absolutely right up by then.
Was there a handball just before court shout?
That was Jota on, but it was outside the box, but it then bumbles up off another lad,
Yeah, so I couldn't really see the handball where I was. I just shouted for it anyway, because Jota wanted me to. But I couldn't really see whether it sort of was. And then the Salah one's ridiculous, because he gets fouled, but then I understand why he carries on, but then he just gets like a weird shove in the back, doesn't he? Which probably isn't enough for a pen, but you're annoyed about the one because he has just fouled him, and it really sort of did help. And as I say, it's a funny one for the crowd at the moment, because I think a lot of what we're watching, the fact that they weren't pressing the defenders, they were just letting them have it. The slow build-up play, which which people just don't a lot of people just don't enjoy. And so I think like there was, when that's going on, I think it was sort of like holding everyone back a little bit. So once we did go, and I think that's when the crowd's at its best. And we've all said this really, we're there to try and help Liverpool win, and I think we massively did that in the game. And it's great, like you say, when the opposition managers bringing it up afterwards, because I agree with them.
Other thing, Rob, is I felt like every sub actually made us stronger. Jota's obviously got the knock, so Nunez coming on makes a difference anyway, but it felt like it suited Nunez, the game circumstance he comes on into. The other end of that is Trent's meant to have maybe a tiny little problem according to the manager, but at that point the idea of bringing Gomez on to be around and sweep things up helped. McAllister came on for Jones, whose race had run, an excellent race. We're going to come on and talk about that, but his race had been run, and I think that there's also a little thing that they do, which is I think is dead interesting with Diaz, which is they bring Diaz on after Gusto swapped sides, and they just start hitting Diaz the way they were hitting Salah, and I think they didn't fancy Gusto in that sort of physical battle in a wide area. And I think they thought, well, we'll just keep what we do the way we do that. We'll go to that, because they brought that enormous lad on to play left back. It was as though
that was my when he came on, mate. I looked at him and thought, who on earth is that? Absolutely juice head with on that, bro.
Was it Vega?
Yeah. First time I've ever seen him in my life.
Unnecessary.
He's absolutely enormous. So he comes on and plays left back. So we basically go, well, we can't start lashing it at Salah's chest like we have been. We bring Diaz on, Gusto goes the other side, and we go, right, we'll just go that way. But I think they didn't fancy Gusto. My point being, though, is that I think every sub gave us something, which is also brilliant to see.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of, to an extent, they're all not all, but mostly not all, obviously, but some of them were preordained because he was dealing with their fitness after the international break. I think he knew Trent wasn't going to see 90 minutes out. Jones, after Jones having had the sleepless nights we presume he's had in the wake of having had a baby, was going to see. What's funny? You've thrown me off my stride. What have I said?
I think this is the only context where anyone ever uses the word preordained.
Preordained, like in substitutions.
Yeah. I think it's good. That's I'm just laughing
since biblical times.
Exactly, because the only thing that gets ordained is priests.
Priests and substitute footballers.
Priests and substitute footballers are preordained. Yeah,
they're anointed in the dressing room beforehand. Yeah, my son will come on 62 and he will perform well. So of the preorder, I think Gakpo had played twice. Diaz had travelled, so that he knew he was going to use Diaz. I think at some point. I have to say, I was chatting to my friend Julio, who sits next to me, and we were both going, Gakpo is a very strange and frustrating footballer because his level is so high. Like, you look at his performance in Milan and you go, Jesus Christ, he's done. But I thought, some people, I listened to both aftermatch shows, Gakpo wasn't great. I thought he was fucking shit. I thought he was fucking terrible. And I was screaming at the manager for my usual make a sub on 45. But he'd preordained it for 62 or whatever he did.
You can't preordain
the Nunez one, I mean, Nunez was great. He was like a Tasmanian devil. Every touch he did was an interesting, brilliant touch for the first 20 minutes, and he got the crowd going. There'd been much talk in the week about what it takes to get an Anfield crowd going. Do you spit in the linesman's face? Do you do, or what is it going to take here? But it takes Nunez sometimes, so that made the difference. The Gomez one was fantastic. I suppose it could have been maybe even slightly earlier because Trace's run looked whatever. What's the word?
Trent's race looked run.
Those are the words. Nothing was preordained. And what was the other? McAllister for Jones. Yeah, it was a good afternoon's work for the manager, no doubt.
All right, we'll get into some specific performances then. What do you want to say then about
I was laughing because your clap was like I'd made such a great point. I'm stopping you, embarrassing me now.
We just clap in the gaps so we can break it up and make it easier for you going all the way through.
I'll start uploading your good points.
Yeah. Thanks, somebody needs to. Preordain those claps.
Worthy of it. I want to talk about some specific performances, Josh. Just Jones is the obvious one, and let's just not mess about. He's thoroughly good at both ends of the pitch. Excellent in the middle of the pitch. It's a terrific finish. I think he's, he was given man of the match. He was the man the match turned on more than any other.
Yeah, proper all-round performance, to be fair to him. He scores a goal, he wins. So the first penalty Liverpool get, Jones wins that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he wins the pen that wasn't a pen, but kind of was as well. So in terms of being involved in the penalty box, he's definitely getting forward and doing the whole, late arriving in the penalty box, like a Lampard style almost. But then he does an absolute job on Cole Palmer as well, like throughout the game. Every time Palmer gets on the ball, Jones is standing on his toes. So it caused issues for us sometimes because the space that Caicedo was operating in was bigger.
Because Jones ended up so wide and pulled into spaces.
Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, I don't have too much of a concern with that, to be honest. Cole Palmer's the player that you want to take care of. If Caicedo wants the ball, like, so be it. They can be. They've got more dangerous players than Caicedo. So
how crap was Palmer, by the way? He's worse than Gakpo.
Well, I think a lot of that can be on Jones. Yeah. A lot of that was on Jones. I think he did a really functional, disciplined job defensively, and going forward makes a huge dip to the extent where if he doesn't play, you could argue Liverpool don't even score.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I think, in terms of the praise, I think there's been a little bit of like, it's just, the people on the post-match show say they thought it's the best he's ever played, and I'm fine with that, but I don't think it's like, I don't think they feel like this performance has come out of nowhere for me. I feel like there's been plenty
Strongly agree.
Yeah, there's been plenty of these really good performances, so I'm not going to damn him with any faint praise. I'm just going to praise because I think he's a great footballer, and he won a big game for Liverpool, like Josh says, and I think for a while, I think he's been our most likely goal scorer from midfield because of those runs that he makes and because of his timing. And he gets the winner in this one. Like Josh says, he's just sort of so involved. His movement in tight spaces, I thought, was excellent and got us out some, they're tricky midfielders to play against, and whenever he sort of was pressed, he seemed to sort of come out of it really well, carrying it. I watched Match of the Day when we got in, and they were highlighting how he was finding space, using the whole pitch to find space and help get us on the pitch, and I think that was really notable because I think for a little bit at the start of the game we were struggling a little bit with options. There wasn't enough, and Curtis sort of saw that and made sure he was always available for the pass, and so I was really pleased that he highlighted that, because I noticed that sort of in the game, him helping us get up the pitch by using, as I say, that full width of the pitch. He's showing his intelligence. I think the defensive stuff, I think it's fair to say was another level to maybe what we've seen in the past. You've always thought of him as an attacking midfielder, and even when he's played deeper, it's been, I guess, more to kind of to set the tone of play,
link the play.
Yeah. So how well he plays in that deeper role in that under-21s tournament, but you wouldn't call him a defensive midfielder. But that double block from Palmer, I do think is a goal saver, and I think if he scores from that, then we're describing his performance as very different, or he's lit up a big game, and so I think a lot of it was down to him and just having the tenacity to do that. I think it's something that the manager has installed, obviously, in all of them, but he's sort of really embraced, and every area of the pitch he's influenced there, every part of it. He's winning 2 pens, like Josh says. He's coming up with the big goal, and to do that the week you've had a kid, honestly, I just can't comprehend it, because I didn't know what my name was when I had my first kid. I mean, obviously it is different for footballers, I would imagine. His house is probably bigger, but still, like, your head goes. Like he still did the pose coming off the hospital that all dads do. When it's, he's walking out with the thing and it's his back, and I'm like, he doesn't care how much money you've got. That still bangs on Instagram. So he's still out there, like, but when you're coming out, you still, like, there's obviously a few sorts of parents here. You still, your mind's just chocker, and you're driving over 15 miles an hour because you're so, like, petrified. You still had all that. I don't care how big his house is.
I'm enjoying this.
Do you know what I mean?
It's all yesterday's John, isn't it?
And so to just, I mean, maybe he was just glad to get out the house.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. If I play amazing, they'll let me go to Leipzig.
He's great.
So, sorry, love, you're doing the feeds again. I'm playing in Leipzig. Yeah, it's one of the. Yeah, he was incredible. So much of what Jones tends to do, a good Curtis Jones game looks like a slightly under the radar game unless he scores. This was one, I think, even before he scored, where I was elbowing my mate next to me and going, Curtis is playing very well here.
It was like a murmur in the ground, wasn't it?
He's playing very well. Yeah, he was.
It was like a Rubik going, man.
It was. Jesus. He's in a certain sense.
Sorry, I've gone in a silly mood now.
I'm enjoying it. I think he's, in a certain sense, relative to his skill set and his qualities, he's sort of one of the most unlucky Liverpool players I've watched, in as much as he never really gets an honest run in the team long enough for him to reach a level. The longest run, and it's usually injury that gets in his way. The longest run I think I can remember him having, I might be wrong, consecutive appearances at the tail end of the season before last, when Klopp puts him in, and I think he plays about 9 or 10 on the bounce, and I think he scores about 4, maybe even 5.
2 in a game,
Gets a brace at Leicester.
Scores against Spurs, and was 2 against Leeds.
Probably scored against Leeds.
Once against Leeds, yeah. So I think it's about 5 in 10, but he's dropped in, funnily enough. I think it's Chelsea in a hard-fought 0-0 at the beginning of that run. And you think, Curtis is all right. I haven't seen him for a while. And then he gets better and better game on game. Now, the quality we've got in the squad, Curtis may not get this run, but he is the sort of player, I think, who needs a run of games to really hit his stripes.
But you now expect him, I expect him to be now very much in the loop of, well, if it's not 80, it'll be 30. You know, like I think he's going to play football. I think this is the bit he's going to. I think he's going to get a lot of appeal. Like the way I think that they all are.
Well,
I think you can see the loop of them just sort of getting picked, if you see what I mean, and how they're going to be used. And it might be that Szoboszlai needs half an hour off against Leipzig if he's going to go again against Arsenal. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be the good thing for Jones is you feel as though we can certainly operate in 2 of those 3 positions. I'd argue we can operate in all 3.
Well, yeah, I think when in the first pre-season games, he quickly caught the manager's eye, and you could tell he was feeding off that confidence, and he was talking a big game really about how he was going to really enjoy the new slot system, and then he got the niggling injury that he always gets. But he's reaching a level in his cameos thus far this season, and this was I don't know, maybe his longest number of minutes on the pitch consecutively. I'm not sure. Where you go. He's at a level whereby we didn't miss McAllister. We just didn't.
No.
I'm not sure McAllister, who's probably our number 1 midfielder pound for pound, if he improved things when he came on, we didn't miss McAllister. And I think if you start Jones ahead of Szoboszlai, and I'm a massive fan of Szoboszlai, despite people criticising him a lot lately, I don't think we'd miss Szoboszlai so much. Gravenberch is more of the sort of, let's call it unicorn in our midfield setup at the moment, which is crazy considering he wasn't really a conventional number 6. Now he's the most perfect number 6 the game's ever seen. So I think Curtis is going to find it hard to do a Gravenberch tribute performance. But I think in the other 2 positions, I think now the manager can rotate fairly seamlessly. Go, it's all right, McAllister, you have the night off. It's all right, Dominic, you have the night off. And that's the best tribute you can I think raise about Curtis's performance of the weekend.
Trent, John, first half excellent. Second half Neto happened, which I think will always be a thing. It happens to Joe Gomez, it happens to Nathan Ake last season when he was playing for Wolves. When Neto gets going, he's just a lot to deal with. But even then, I think that Trent hangs in there really, really well. I think it's such a good, solid performance as a defensive right back, and it feels like you're being needly saying that, but it just was.
Yeah, I think that's completely right, and I think that's what he's been all season. I think it's been a really good season from Trent, and I really enjoyed how much it meant to him at the end, because he obviously gets taken off, but he's out there celebrating with everyone. I think he's last off the pitch, Trent, or certainly one of the last ones. We could tell it was a big win, and he was made up. I think he's enjoying it this season. I think he's enjoying the defensive unit, and I think he's enjoying the new manager. When he talked about that, didn't he? When he did an interview saying, like, I'm looking forward to working with someone with new ideas and things. And he seems to be, embracing it and embracing, this period of his Liverpool career. And like I said, it was great to see him on the pitch. Because sometimes when players get taken off, they just sort of amble down really. But he was right on there celebrating with everyone and giving it a big one to the cop and stuff like that. I think he's loving it, and I think he's fit. When I was talking before about the season open options, I think he can see that too, and I think there's a few of them who've won before who were like, there's maybe a little bit more in this season what I thought, and I think Trent's definitely one of them. It's
a lot of ball recoveries. It's also just a lot of making life difficult. I think it's a good change from Maresca at half time. That's not me having a go at Sancho. I just think he sees that Madueke, he's getting joy on the other side, or got a bit of joy at least first 20. He realises that maybe he can do it with pace up against Trent. As I say, Neto's really difficult to deal with when he gets motoring. But even there, I think that Alexander-Arnold does absolutely fine in that context. It's just an all-round solid game.
Well, I enjoyed watching Trent be put in defensive situations without being out of position first. You know where like he's expected to be an attacker so often that he often engages in these one-on-ones when he's shattered because he's just running the length of the pitch. in this game, we actually saw how he gets on in these battles when he's got a full tank of energy and he's already in position. He can get himself set. He can kind of direct where the opponent's going to go.
Can use his body.
Yeah. Honestly, I thought he was really good.
And his pace when he's got a reasonable start, not a yard behind the man, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Neto's absolutely rapid. You know, he is a problem. Neto can go both ways. I think a lot of the time, Neto got inroads by just running away from Trent. Sometimes he just ran towards like Van Dijk's direction from the left side of the pitch. But I thought Trent, when he was given a fair shot at winning these duels, which we never really see, I thought he showed that, listen, he's no worse defensively than any other fullback, really. It's just a case of he's doing so much for you when you're on the ball that by the time he gets back and starts these defending things, he's probably knackered.
Centre halves, Rob. It's another excellent display. Both they had more to do. Bar Konate's leg, playing the lad on. Jackson, who I thought looks bright as a button. I thought they verged on faultless, the pair of them.
Yeah, they've been faultless all season. It's a bit sickening that they had that goal for every reason, but for those two as much as anything, because normally they hold the line so perfectly. Linesman puts his flag up, you're totally confident that they've got it right because they don't get it wrong. That was a kick in the pants, wasn't it? I thought they were brilliant. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. In fact, but in a way where I don't really know what else to say about them anymore. Virgil heads things away. Konate puts his body in the way. They hold their line correctly. But I think maybe we do need to give credit to, because I think Slot would say this too. The team is set up very differently to defend. I'm enjoying us being able to low block it in phases in the game. You could see it. And this is why I said in the phase where Chelsea weren't laying a glove, I didn't like them having the ball, but they weren't. You could see us getting set the way the midfield is set now. Such as we talked about midfielders throwing themselves on grenades. They're not having to perhaps defend in the way they had to in the past, those two boys. And that's not to take a scintilla away from them, but they are definitely getting more help.
They are getting more help, John, but one of the things I think they're both doing a really good job of is picking the moments when they're going to come all the way into midfield, when it's going to be right. And they know they're going to get someone's going to fill in for them, and that's one of the reasons they've got the confidence to do it. But that's what I'm enjoying watching them as well. When they realise, no, there's one there to be won, or we're going to go and squeeze. That is something a bit unconventional. It's not, for instance, something you see Arsenal centre-backs do very often, and Ruben Diaz gets a nosebleed if he tries it. Whereas our lads are prepared to absolutely, if they feel as though it's right, they'll go all the way.
Yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence, a lot of assured confidence, aren't they? There's like a quiet assured about them. There's not a lot flashy going on. You know, there's not many performances. You know, Konate's maybe done one or two, but there's not many performances where you go, oh, that was like, you know, some centre-half performance. That it's just because it doesn't need to be, just because they're making good decisions. Like you say, they're stepping up when they need to. They're holding the position when they need to. Like Rob says, they're comfortable just sort of sitting in and defending, you know, for a bit. And I think that bailing out each other thing is a big one. What you mentioned there, and I was thinking that when Josh was talking about Trent as well, like, you know, he's not having to sort of leg back, but also, you know, he's not thinking, well, if a ball just goes in behind me, then there's this big gap and I'm supposed to going to get the blame for it. You know, them spaces just don't exist on the pitch, and so I think that's really helping a lot of them. But certainly these centre halves, but they're big part of why there is no spaces, because they're stepping up, they're playing so high, but then they're prepared to play higher, and they're just making us just so hard to even get near the goal, and that's fantastic. And like I say, they're just bubbling nicely, and as I say, it's not all last ditch, but they'll do that if they need to. It's not like, you know, Terry Butcher, you know, there's no bandages sort of coming out or anything. They look like they could go again after every game, and that's brilliant.
Already been mentioned, Josh, but Nunez comes on, improves things in all phases. The quality of his link-up play, especially that first 20 minutes when he was on, was absolutely exceptional. I think he's got that in him. I think it's been an under. It was around this time last season, I think he was showing a fair bit of that, and I think it did wane as the season wears on. Strikers need goals, I think, to feed the confidence. But I thought it was an excellent performance. It was all action. It was only marred by the stupid booking, but we win the game, and we can all laugh at the stupid booking.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this performance, to be honest. I'm probably known as a bit of a Darwin Nunes fairness, to be honest, aren't I, John? But yeah, I thought he was brilliant. I loved watching him. I thought when he came on, it kind of gave off vibes of, like, you know, when you rest your best player, and he has to come on because someone's injured, and he just comes on with that kind of authority. Núñez comes on, and his first touch, I think, is a back heel that he lays off to someone running behind him.
Salah, I think it was.
I think it might have been Salah, yeah. And beyond that, I think every bit of link play was brilliant. It's a game where he plays really well outside of even. I don't even think he takes a shot, does he? Whereas Núñez, that's usually his game, getting shots in the box and things like that. I don't think he takes a single one. And defensively, he just wants constant fights. He's playing on the edge, but like where it's still healthy for you. There's a point where he goes for Badashile, then he goes for him again, then he goes for him again. Just keeps leaving one on him. Badashile reacts to one of them, and Núñez goes down to try to get him sent off, and he's just smiling when he's on the floor, just laughing at himself, knowing what he's doing. Like, I just loved his performance. I thought he was brilliant. Without being typical Núñez, where he's running him behind and he's offside all the time, he's getting loads of shots. It was a different kind of brilliant for me. Hopefully he can keep it up, because to be honest, it's like watching. He just played like a scouser, doesn't he? It's like watching a scouser, just someone who's like, it's like watching kind of a modern iteration of Rooney almost in some ways, in terms of his mentality and his willingness to get involved in a scrap and things like that. And when his touch is on there, it's great to watch.
Yeah, there's obviously the notable assist, ball that's nearly assist is the one through to
is that one from
Jones. That's the one I was going to go on to talk about. So the one that you probably will have seen more replays of, because it leads to the second penalty. That isn't. That's a lovely ball, but the one deeper is a better pass, and it's into Gakpo, and it's just sort of brilliant. And you're almost like rubbing your eyes because you don't expect it of him.
I was going, who the hell's played that ball?
Yeah, because he's like, first of all, the position on the pitch where he is, and he was just all action at that point. He was just everywhere. So there's a position of the pitch where he is that's a little bit sort of unexpected, and then he spots it and hits it. It was like having Alexis McAllister on the pitch, wasn't it, in terms of that sort of style of vision and ball. It was absolutely brilliant. And like you said, Neil, he has got this sort of in his locker, really, in terms of his link-up play. It feels like he gets in a rhythm with his link-up play, or he doesn't. And sometimes it's bouncing really off him, and then other times, just a couple of things go well for him. And I remember his first touch being excellent, and it's a little round the corner for Salah, and then it feels like he's away after that, and he's pairing, he's getting into a rhythm, and he's enjoying his football. And then obviously, he was coming deep and taking it off the sixes and stuff like that, which was brilliant to see. Because they had quite a lot of time on the ball at one point, and then he comes on, and suddenly they've got no time whatsoever. He's trying to get back in and make life harder for them, and they weren't expecting it at all. They were like, where's this fella come from? And he's getting the crowd up, like they say. But on the ball, it reminded me a little bit of, we've done this a couple of times this show, but you said there was this time last year, it was Villa at home where he's excellent, and I can't even remember if he scores in that game, but he's brilliant, and he's almost sort of unplayable, really. And it's all the stuff we're talking about now. It's not that he scores a worldie or whatever. Even if I can't even remember if he got one, but I think
it's the one where he hits the post, it bounces back, it's the lad and goes in. So it's not his goal, it's an own goal.
But his all round centre forward play that day was excellent, and I think you saw more of that. And Rob talked before about players potentially getting a run. It's opening up for him now, isn't it? He'll start Wednesday, and if he scores again, well, maybe he starts Arsenal. Then if he scores there, his season's off and running. I think
he's a fascinatingly, I think, complex player in many respects, not least psychologically, but his skill set. There was times toward the last phase of last season where we didn't get much out of him, and it led to his form disintegrating a bit. And I think there have been moments where managers want to say to him, just make sure your job is to arrive in the place where the ball's going to arrive and score. That's all. That's really what you need. Almost like treating him a bit like he could be a Haaland. But I think Núñez's mindset is you've got to get him involved. You've got to say wherever the battle is, you be at the centre of it. And I think eventually, if you played another half hour, I think a chance would have come, and in that mood, I think he would have taken it. I think you've got to keep him involved all the time in a game. He's almost the anti-Haaland, and not in a bad way.
Okay. Last week, John Gibbons spoke to Dave Jaggs and to Roxanne Bastion. Here it is.
and it is John Gibbons for the Anfield Wrap, and in our video studio with a couple of old friends from when I used to be a musician, when I used to be cool. Can you imagine? These guys are still musicians and still very cool. You'll probably recognise Dave Jaggs. He's been in with us before, does all the singles for fan supported food banks, and I mean many other things. I won't want to limit you to just that, Dave. Ragamuffins,
two Ragamuffins,
playing Hotel Anfield.
Too busy to mention.
All that, and a pop star in the house, Roxanne Bastion. Thank you so much for coming in to see me. It's lovely to see you. It's been genuinely probably over 10 years.
It's been too long, and lovely intro, thank you.
So, I mean, you're playing tonight in Liverpool, so you've popped in to see us to talk about a big event that you guys have got coming up together with some others on the 4th of December. It's to celebrate a couple of Beatles anniversaries, 60th anniversary. But before all that, you've been doing these type of shows for a while, Roxanne, so I'd be interested to know why you wanted to do them and a little bit about your and your family's relationship with the Beatles, because we all love the Beatles, of course, but for you guys, it's I guess a little bit more than even the average Scouser.
Thank you. Yes, I'll take that. Well, it's so funny because you just mentioned your little kid and how he got into the Beatles by listening to Yellow Submarine, just getting really into that. And I've got a similar story. So I was born and raised in Berlin. And apparently, I really wanted to watch TV, and my hippie mum wasn't so keen on the idea, but she relented and thought, what can I show my child that will be harmless, and decided to show me Yellow Submarine. And I don't know how harmless it was. Because
you were maybe on a lot of drugs at the time.
So I just absolutely fell in love, not just with Beatles music, but with music in general, and with harmony, and with orchestration, and songwriting, and all of it. And apparently, I ran up to my room to get my little Fisher-Price cassette recorder afterwards, and ran to my mum and said, I need the songs. Can you please record the songs?
Macaulay Culkin and
So, I mean, that moment, it's not too sort of dramatic to say that specific moment is responsible for where you are now and everything that you've done. And it's that first love of the Beatles. I guess this is you just trying to give a little bit back in a way and pay your homage to these magnificent songs that the whole world knows.
So I know this will sound strange, but growing up in the in the noughties in Berlin, the Beatles weren't really played anywhere, so it genuinely felt like they were my indie band.
You were like, have you heard of this really cool this band coming out of Liverpool?
It was just the thing that I was known for, Roxanne that's into the Beatles. Yeah. But then, so it wasn't until I graduated from school and my dad and I, like my dad as a present to me, my present was a trip to Liverpool. So we came here together he'd never been actually either, despite the fact that was English. So we explored the city together, and it was just such a magical trip. And I fell in love with Liverpool outside of the Beatles as well, just with the people and the whole vibe here. And there's so much talent here. So yeah, it's been my home away from home ever since.
Well, I mean, after you met the talent, you bumped into this guy.
Took a big dive. I was going to say, I think the first time I met you was at the Cavern Pub for Ian Prowse's night, obviously. Yeah. Good friend of ours. So that was the first time I saw you play as well. So yeah, and then obviously a couple of years down the line, these events are going on, and you kind of asked me about kind of taking part with the rest of the Ragamuffins, and I think you'd done the first, the second one, and then we did the Sergeant Pepper's one, which is the first one. I'm fresh off my honeymoon, jumped on stage, and about 20 pounds overweight after, because we did a cruise. So I was like,
sweating out cake on stage.
Oh god, yeah. Cake and complimentary beer. Oh god. Yeah, so it was good. And then obviously we've done every single one since. So the White Album, which is the day before my daughter was born, and got back at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So went out and had a couple of pints afterwards, and then went straight to the hospital the next day, and haven't slept since. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it. So what should people expect from the night? Because obviously, it's 2 classic albums that you'll be performing. But what else should people expect? Is there sort of a few surprises? Do you throw in a few sort of lesser known songs as well?
Yeah. So like you say, we do the full Beatles for Sale and Hard Day's Night back to back, but there's also a couple of singles that they released around the same time, including one that is obviously quite familiar to Liverpool fans, given how often it was sung, especially towards the tail end of last season. won't say anything more than that, but I think we all know what it is. And so we're going to be reproducing them. Obviously, some of them quite faithful to the original, some of them a little bit more sort of like left field. I mean, I think we had Johnny Sands performing a really...
It's another one. Maybe we should have got Johnny in. We could have really had the reunion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Johnny Sands was doing like a really sort of left field version of Strawberry Fields at one of the events, like with like tape loops and everything, and he basically set it up like he was in a coffee shop, because that was just like the perfect place to see Johnny Sands, in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And that was just brilliant. So like things like that, and they kind of really catch your eye. We've had Ellen and Ellie up to do some of the big songs before. I think she did Helter Skelter on the White Album one.
At the very first one, we had She Drew the Gun, who were just doing so amazing now, and they did just a brilliant version of Tomorrow Never Knows.
Yeah.
So as you say, it is, some of the songs are faithful to the originals, but the whole idea is it's not like a strict covers gig. It is, the artists are all encouraged to put their own twist on it. So it's definitely for like music and live music lovers as well as just lovers of the Beatles.
How much fun is it to rehearse these songs? Because, we do sort of all just love them, and it must be like, oh, off to work, and then you just like, it must be so much fun to be putting your own sort of spin on it, your own interpretation, but just like really getting into, how the songs are made and kind of constructed as well.
Some of them can be a bit of a... mess your head a little bit. I think we did a duet of Happiness is a Warm Gun, and it's like, what was John Lennon thinking?
He thought this would be straightforward.
What are you thinking, John?
It's so funny because some songs are really, especially these early records, some of the songs are like deceptively simple, and you think you know them so well, but when you try and put your own spin on it, it can be quite challenging. So it's always really fun to try and find your own way into them.
Yeah, and it's December the 4th, Wednesday night. It's in Leith, upstairs. I assume you're sorting upstairs. I love that room to play. I feel like the acoustics are really good. The equipment and the sound guys is always really good. It used to be John Hall, didn't it? Bless him. But it was always incredible. But I feel like people in there just really listen. I think it's something about the environment or the people it attracts. But whenever I've done gigs in there, I always feel like, I know that sounds stupid, like of course people listen, but I'll shock you.
No, not at all, no.
There's some venues where maybe other things take precedence, but I feel like in there, I've done some gigs where, you can really hear a pin drop, and that's really magical for the musician.
Well, we've had a sort of, for the last one, I think we did I Want to Hold Your Hand, and we actively encouraged the crowd to sing along, which sounds a weird thing in Liverpool, because obviously, as a city, we're renowned for like joining in and getting involved and like making a racket. But it was like, okay, I'm going to do this on piano, and we're going to have it as like almost like a school assembly sing along, which was really, really fun to do.
Have you done the value jewellery joke? I bet you have.
Not at these gigs, but
you've got it in your repertoire.
John, I've used that too many times. It's like, so way too many times. If anything, gotta stop that. But yeah.
But I've got one again, as it must be a real sort of labour of love to sort of be doing this songs. I know you like to raise money for charity and stuff like that as well, but the whole thing just must be like, this is a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing better. I mean, just seeing musicians that I love play music that I love, and all for a good cause, So we're raising money for Choose Love. I think I've said the word love quite a lot.
It's the Beatles thing.
All you need is.
Yeah, so we're Choosing Love, which is a refugee charity which helps refugees on the ground, really hands-on help wherever they are. And, unfortunately, more and more displaced people in the world now. So, and that's another thing I love so much about Liverpool. It just has such a sort of, a real conscience, and there's so much activism in Liverpool as well. And so it's great to combine those things.
So 4th of December, upstairs in Leith, 60th anniversary of 2 classic albums, and I guess the best thing about the Beatles is they've got a lot of albums, there's a lot of anniversaries, so get this one done, plan the next one next year. I'm not great on the sort of years and stuff like that, but what would it sort of...
Oh yeah, it's a big one next year.
I mean, I think they probably did 3 in 65, didn't they?
EPs as well,
So look out for that, but best of luck with it. there'll be so many surprises sort of on the night, so many fantastic musicians, all for the fantastic course. Tickets are still available, £13 plus booking fee. I think Skittle may be the best place to go.
Yeah, or Liverpool Acoustic.
Great people.
Can I give the artists a quick plug that
Go
are
on,
playing?
sorry.
So, of course, we're playing, and then there's Danny Bradley, Limerence, Leonie Jacobi, and Katie Nicholas, Liz Owen, John Witherspoon, Jenny Coyle, Barry Jones, Mike Ryan, and Tom Moorcroft. Whew.
Brilliant. A few of friends there, like so many fantastic people. Not to sort of single out, but when you're talking about harmonies before Liminence, I just can't wait to hear kind of what they do with it, because it's all about sort of harmonies and stuff like that, isn't it? So can't wait. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I feel like we should go for a drink or something. We'll record this on a Friday night. Thanks for coming in before your gig. Best of luck with it tonight. Dave, just a shout out as well. You've got another one of these singles out. It's for Alexis McAllister.
Yeah, Alexis McAllister. The lads who recorded the original video, we got them into the dark house. Got them to record it on a Thursday night. Drink was had, and we did a cracking little job with it.
So you listen back.
Yeah, so you know what? It's surprisingly in tune. So I mean, we were thinking on the day we were thinking, we should do a full album. I mean, I don't know about that, but yeah, that's really good. But as all the Liverpool songs we've done, we're putting the money out for fan supporting food banks, so you can get on that as well. Yeah. So you might hear it at the match as well. So
there you go. Thanks to you guys. Thanks obviously to Dave, Roxanne, Sam for filming. Up to that.
Great stuff there. Moving ourselves along, we're at Gravity Max for the game on Wednesday against Leipzig. So if you want to go and watch it with us, we'll be upstairs in Gravity Max. For that, we'll be doing post-match pints and the post-match audio show as well there after the match on Wednesday. Really looking forward to doing both of them there as well. But we'll just be around, I think, from about 6-ish.
Yeah.
Just damming on air this, 6.
Yeah, come watch the game with us. It'll be fun. It's a great place to watch football.
It's unbelievable how good it is.
Yeah, they've got 2 massive screens, one inside and one outside upstairs. Bar's good ale on. So yeah, come and join us, and then we'll be doing the post-match stuff after if you want to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will. And we are going to do a live show in Glasgow, which we're very excited about, on Saturday the 16th of November. It'll be an afternoon show. It's at something called the Record Factory. Tickets,
good.
There we go. Tickets will be released this week. They'll be very limited, so keep an eye out on the emails and on social. Craig's sort of being a bit ambiguous there all the way through. I'm just reading the text message now. So it will be the 16th of November at Record Factory in the afternoon. We're really looking forward to getting the opportunity to go and do that. We'll be the absolute business, and we'll have a guest or two as well bouncing around. May well try and sell some books as well and go through the process there. Just quickly, we've touched on other people's levels and the whole picture, Josh. Chelsea, I think that City have gone to Stamford Bridge, they've got out the way, and they won the game. I think they got them at a good time. Arsenal actually go there at the end of this run before the next international break, and that could prove to be a bad time. Wherever Chelsea are, I think they're in company likely with Spurs and Villa. They probably look the other two, likely to be challenging for about 4th. I think everyone else in that race looks like a loose horse.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah. I think it's between them. I think, obviously, Villa have got, the most points on the board already so far. But I don't know what it is with Villa. Maybe it's just the fact that it is Aston Villa. I'm not accustomed to them being in the top 4, but watching them compared to Chelsea just feel like more dominant to me than Villa. And even Spurs do, but then Villa just never seem in too much trouble, and they just seem to take over, and Emery just manages these games, easy stuff, and they just win games all the time. So I'm not really sure, but I think between them 3, I think they are probably in contention for 4th. Man United down in 11th. Lovely stuff. So yeah, I don't know, mate. It's tricky, but I think Chelsea are a good side. They're much better than last season, and I think Maresca's doing a good job there. I
think that's, looking at everyone at the minute, Rob, it does look like there is the 3. It's obviously a significant defeat for Arsenal. They only lost 2 games against sides that finished 9th to 20th last season, and they now get themselves in slightly mad games. But Arsenal are obviously better than Chelsea. I think quite substantially better than Chelsea. Spurs and Villa, I say, are the other 2. They're knocking around in there as well. City scraped over the line, but we know that City are, the champions, and they've won 4 on the bounce. So we've got to bear that in mind. It's slightly mad that we, in the end, actually probably have the most comfortable weekend of those 3. You wouldn't have said that before the ball was kicked.
No, and that's why it's such a fillip for us to the way the weekend panned out. And okay, we'd love City to have dropped against Wolves, but your next best thing was for them to look a bit of a show and to be lucky to win, and they were very, very, very lucky. By the way, I mean, we all watched that last second winner for City. You've got to say, how often does a referee get sent to a monitor but go, "Oh, nah, I don't agree with the monitor"? I mean,
No.
Only Oliver did it once.
No, the lad put his flag up. The liner put his flag up.
The liner put his flag up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it got.
So the referee was overturning it.
The referee was overturned.
Yeah, it was an overturn. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I thought the goal had been given initially.
No.
Ah, I see. Sorry. Well, I misunderstood that.
That's all right.
But
Sorry, it was talked about like the goal. Yeah, it was talked about that way. You've not got anything massively wrong, but no. It is an overturn.
That makes more sense for what he did after.
That does make more sense. So, it was a perfect weekend. I think Chelsea are, let's put it this way, it wouldn't surprise me if they finish in the top 4 very, very comfortably, and they prove themselves to be much stronger than Villa and Spurs, because I think on paper their squad clearly is. We did that Friday show a few weeks ago, and I said, I want to see what this Maresca's Chelsea looked like when they got 5 wins under their belt. We're sort of beginning to see what that's like. They could build momentum. They could start to go, well, hang on, we got quasi world-class players in 2 of them in each position here. Have Spurs got that? Have Villa got that? No, if they can find a level of consistency and sanity, I think Chelsea could comfortably finish in the top 4. Could they do better than that? I don't know. Arsenal, this is a bit uncharted waters with the new Arsenal. This is sort of the last 3 years, because this is quietly a shit show of a start by any stretch of the imagination, but dropping points against Brighton, dropping points. They've dropped points, in 3 games out of the 8 so far, haven't they?
Well, all 3 been red card games, don't they?
Yeah, sure. But having said that, that's on them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's interesting that they're being mad. The games are being like. I think it's really weird what Saliba does.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, I just need to throw in. It's not just those 3 games. They're lucky against Leicester. They surrender a 2-goal lead to go 2-2, and they're deep in injury time before they even get the 3rd. I know that getting the 4th makes it look like they knew what they were doing in a certain sense, but I'd sort of throw that into the mix of saying, that hasn't happened to us this season. We've not had to sweat like that. City have had to. Okay, City have sweat against Arsenal, but against Wolves, against Fulham, people saying they played off the park. You have to say we are deservedly at the top and probably merit a bit of a clearer gap on second place. The 4 points on Arsenal, though, we take.
Yeah, I think the Saliba thing. It's we can't concede today because we don't know if we're going to score 2. Like he sent them out and said, "Do not concede."
I think Arteta has kind of had that mindset almost since losing Odegaard. It's like losing Odegaard. He's kind of looked in the mirror and been like, we can't play football without this lad. And since then, they've been kind of trying to grind out games with clean sheets.
Set pieces.
And they've conceded more, I think, on the back of it. It's been weird way of doing things, because they've still got good players even without Odegaard.
How many have they shipped this season?
Going to do it on the trends, Josh. Just hang on, mate.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. We can do it trends on the Peloton.
That
is the trend.
That is also the dream. All right, John, pick me a team for Leipzig, and then Rob can tell you why you're wrong.
So I'd be really tempted to massively focus on Arsenal. I think Arsenal's huge, and I think if we can win there, which obviously we can, then I think it's massive. So I don't know whether Slot will, but I'd be tempted to rest more than what maybe I would have been saying a few weeks ago. So I think Darwin plays, and I think that's fine. And obviously Diaz come in. You've probably got to pick Salah because Chiesa's gone missing again, which is a bit annoying. So I think them 3, and I think that they'll probably play. Where I'll probably maybe differ from the manager and maybe Rob. Who knows? In midfield, I'd pick Endo. I'd pick McAllister, and I'd play Jones as an 8. That's what I would do. And then I would get Joe Gomez in the team. I'd get Quansah in the team. If anyone can find Costas, pick him as well. But I think he was
on the bench.
Yeah, was he?
He'd been ill before, yeah.
So I'd Costas as well, and probably So I think I'd maybe pick one of the defenders, maybe pick Virgil, and then do Gomez right back and pick Quansah and Chimikas. I'm not disrespecting Leipzig. I think they're a good team. I think Phil Blundell makes a point that in theory it's our hardest game because it's the Group 1 away. So I'm not disrespecting them. I think first of all, I think that team's still pretty good, is capable of going there to win. I think if we draw, just because we're in such a strong position in the group, I think a draw will be fine. And I just really want to fly into this Arsenal game. I think it's absolutely huge. So that's what I would do.
Rob, how do you feel about that?
I'm pretty similar to John on that one. I wouldn't argue against the logic of any of it. I think there's a couple of positions where the manager could go either way. I think the back is pretty. I would go totally with what you said, Quansah and Virgil. Gomez and Tsimikas, and the keeper. I think, I'm not saying it's nailed on, but I'd put a little bit of money on that one. In midfield, I'd put money on Curtis Jones and McAllister being definite starters. I think he probably will do Endo, but he might just go, I want to stay closer to my first team, and he might just ask Gravenberch to go again. I wouldn't. So probably is going to be Endo. The front three, I've sort of wondered, would he give Salah, not the night off, but sort of the last 30, would he actually try and find some combination of Diaz, Gakpo and Nunez, maybe Marc Diaz to play on the right? I think there's an outside chance of that. But then again, he might do a Salah preordained on 60 and start him again. I do think, I totally agree with the sentiment. You've got to work back from Arsenal.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Leipzig's not a free hit, but a draw is no disgrace. I think Arsenal's a must get a certain type of result. A win would be Wonderland, a draw would be a really good result. We do not want to lose that game, and we want to feel very fresh going into it. So it feels like a 6 or 7 changes game in Germany to me.
Yeah, I'm not that sure, to be fair. I think he might go a bit stronger than that.
I think he'll play. I think he'll play Kelleher, Canate, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, and McAllister. Like, I think he'll do that 5.
McAllister, I don't think he's been rested a bit.
No, but that's what I think he'll do.
Yeah, I think. See, like Leipzig have having a weird season because they're unbeaten in the Bundesliga. They keeping clean sheets. The defense is really good, but the only 2 games they've lost all season have both been in the Champions League. So they kind of need to win this game. Or at least need to get something from it if they have any intention of staying in the Champions League. So they rate what they're doing and things like that. And after Arsenal, we have a League Cup game, don't we?
Yeah.
I think Slot might look at that as the potential to rotate. I do think he'll rotate against Leipzig, but I don't think it'll be too heavy. So I think if I'd do, like, I think I'd keep Jones in the team, maybe take Szoboszlai out. Nunez obviously plays fine with that. Diaz comes in. I think ideally you want Chiesa for this one. You haven't got Elliott either, so I think Salah might just have to play out of necessity almost. Conor Bradley I'd probably be fine with.
But he wasn't on the bench.
He wasn't on the bench
with the problem.
But what about, can I just throw the Gakpo thing in, because I feel Gakpo isn't going to start against Arsenal unless there's an injury. He's going to pick.
Could be, that's right.
So you could do. So I think he's going to think, it's a waste not to use Gakpo, really. And he's been playing well in Europe. You know, it's a waste not to use him. So if I'm putting him in on the left, but then again, Diaz was rested at the weekend. You find a way to use the 2. That's my thinking. He might do, and then maybe
no issue with that. Yeah,
might rest Salah.
Okay, there we are. It's been a fantastic show. But when I saw the list of people who were going to be on it, it was preordained that would be the case.
Nice callback.
It is. It's been a pleasure all the way through. Thank you very much indeed to Peloton. You're going to be hearing and seeing more of all of that, including mine and John's Peloton journey all the way through. It has been a pleasure. Sam Walker-Down has looked after the images if you've gone that way. Andy Heaton's looked after the sounds if you've gone that way. It's been John, it's been Josh, it's been Rob, and my God, isn't this show easy when Liverpool are top of the league?